From today onwards, other than the disciples of the hidden sect, all Khanate life forms are in-name disciples. In the future, they can become full disciples. The Nether race will be known as the Hidden Sect's Nether Zenith. This means that they are the Hidden Sect's Nether race's Zenith Heaven. I hope that you will not let me down. The status of all the clansmen is equivalent to the disciples of the Hidden Sect. The position of the leader, Han Yu, is equivalent to a second-generation disciple. Han Ju's voice resounded throughout the entire Dao field, causing the living beings to be extremely excited. They could enter the Hidden Sect now. The second-generation disciples were Sun Chang'an, Tu Linger, Long Hao, and the others. The first generation was not for disciples, only Han Ju was part of it. For a time, the entire Hidden Sect became lively again. Those vague identities also became confirmed. Not only were the Khanate life forms very excited and looking forward to it, but those of the Nether race were also very happy. Previously, they were always humble when facing the Hidden Sect disciples, mainly because Han Ju didn't give them a status. Now, Han Yu was equivalent to being Han Ju's disciple. He could also speak in front of him in the future. The entire Nether race was also considered as Hidden Sect disciples. Hearing the cheers outside, Han Ju couldn't help but be happy. It seemed that he had neglected many things. Sometimes, a decision from him could change many people. Han Ju suddenly thought of Han Zuetian. Perhaps Han Zuetian could help him manage the internal affairs. Although Mu Rongqi was also managing it, he could only roughly discuss it with each disciple. Those disciples who have reached a bottleneck can help manage the internal affairs in the future. Han Ju's thoughts became clearer. As the Hidden Sect became larger and larger, the more disciples there were, the more conflict and trouble there might be. There had to be someone watching. However, when the disciples took in disciples of their own, there should be no need for anyone to especially manage the miscellaneous affairs. After thinking, Han Ju closed his eyes and continued cultivating Dao attainment. This was what he really cared about. 300 years later, Zhou Fan finally returned, but he was not alone. With him were hundreds of thousands of humans. Arriving in front of the Dao field array formation of the 100-peak Immortal River, Zhou Fan emitted a powerful aura, forcing the nearby Khanate life forms to not dare to approach. "Master, I'm back!" Zhou Fan shouted. Han Ju caught sight of the humans and frowned. He couldn't directly take them in. It would be fine if the number was small, but with so many people, it was almost the entire human race. If he took them in, the karma would be too great. Moreover, wherever there were people, there would be conflicts. Once he accepted them, there would be endless trouble in the future. Han Ju's voice reached Zhou Fan. "Why did you bring so many people?" Zhou Fan replied, "Master, don't worry. I won't bring them into the Hidden Sect. I've already taught them for hundreds of years. I plan to let them stay nearby and make them leave after they become stronger." Han Ju's eyebrows relaxed. Read Lat St chapters at No. V. E. L. Bin Com. Only it seemed that Zhou Fan was not a sanctimonious saint. Thinking about it carefully, it made sense. This fellow was not a kind protagonist, to begin with, but the protagonist bearing a deep hatred. Han Ju moved him in. Zhou Fan quickly came to the Daoist temple. After entering the temple, he recounted his experiences over the years. The human race had been through many difficulties. Their strength was inferior to Khanate life forms and ferocious beasts. They were the weakest race in the current immortal world. Zhou Fan had been injured many times in order to protect them. Zhou Fan said, this ancient race thought that they were very powerful, but they were in a state of disunity. All sorts of kings appeared, just like the demons in the past. Han Ju said, "Who cares about them? Cultivate well. Let the powerful members of the human race leave. I can allow you to take in a few human disciples, but not the entire human race. Perhaps they are very united and simple now, but when their cultivation and population become stronger, the humans you know will come. You should know what the situation will be then." Zhou Fan nodded. Along the way, the suffering he had endured the most was from the humans. The master and disciple chatted for a while before Zhou Fan left. That day, the humans settled near the 100-peak Immortal River. After the Khanate life forms were warned by Zhou Fan, they did not dare to find trouble with the humans. The appearance of the humans did not affect the hidden sect. As Zhou Fan recounted his experiences, the disciples knew that they were not the only ones. All the cultivators in the immortal world were cultivating diligently. While Zhou Fan escorted the humans, he encountered many cave abodes of mighty figures. The powerful aura emitted made even him palpitate. After the calamity ended, 90% of the living beings died. However, the remaining 10% were not mediocre. Most of them became immeasurable emperors. In addition, without the pressure of competition, they cultivated diligently separately. Their cultivation levels could be said to be constantly increasing. The hidden sect disciples did not want to be surpassed by others. Time passed. Year after year passed. 1,000 years later, Hanju opened his eyes and stood up to stretch his muscles. He scanned with his divine sense and discovered that the human population had already exceeded 10 million. In just 1,000 years, without any danger, the population of the human race had increased greatly. Not only that, but they also built a city. Hanju showed a frown. They didn't plan to leave. This city wasn't built casually. It was obvious that they had spent a lot of effort. Not only that, but the internal affairs of the human race had already been established. There were also various business shops in the city. It seemed that someone in the human race had memories of the previous calamity. Otherwise, if they were all newcomers, how could they quickly build a true city in the dangerous early stage Heavenly Dao development? Hanju quickly relaxed his eyebrows. Who cared about them? In any case, if Hanju didn't activate the Dao field array formation, the humans wouldn't be able to enter. Boom! The ground suddenly shook violently as a terrifying aura erupted from afar, wreaking havoc in the world. This aura was even stronger than ancient fiendish Yin's aura. Hanju pinched his fingers to deduce. This aura was on the other side of the immortal world and was extremely far from the 100-peak Immortal River. Talent truly appeared in every generation. This person was venting his pressure like this, clearly wanting to intimidate all living beings. Hanju didn't care. Although this aura was strong, it was nothing to him. Another powerful aura erupted from the other side as if fighting against that person. The disciples gathered and began to discuss, curious about who they were. 7 years later, the 100-peak Immortal River welcomed visitors. Li Daokong and Li Xianao. Hanju spent 4 billion years of his lifespan. After confirming that there was no danger, he moved them into the Daoist temple. Li Daokong cupped his fists and smiled. It's been many years. You seem to have become stronger again. Li Xianao sized him up. For some reason, he felt that Hanju looked familiar, as if he had seen him somewhere before. It was not in the heavenly court, but he couldn't say. Hanju smiled and asked, "Why are you here? Are you inviting me to join the new human school again?" Li Xianao snorted. Li Daokong said, "Do you dare to go against a sage?" "I don't dare." "You! Then, what did you ask us to join the hidden sect?" The one who replied was Li Xianao, who was a little exasperated. Hanju didn't have a good impression of him. "Did you offend a sage?" Li Daokong said calmly, "That's right. We broke up with Master and were expelled from the human school. Should he accept them or not?" Hanju didn't forget that Li Xianao had dug out the chaotic heavenly dog's eyes. After thinking, Hanju shook his head and said, "It's not easy to accept you guys. Firstly, I'm not sure if you'll cultivate in peace after joining the hidden sect and not cause trouble everywhere. Secondly, your junior dug out my disciple's eyes and forcefully snatched his providence." Li Daokong was stunned. Li Xianao's expression changed. Li Daokong glanced at Li Xianao and knew what was going on when he saw his expression. At this moment, Li Daokong suddenly reached out and dug out Li Xianeo's eyes. It was so fast that Li Xianeo didn't even have time to react. Li Daokong squeezed his right hand and turned his eyes into dust. He stared at Hanju and said, "I don't care if it's true or not. I'll make him repay the debt, but we both know that both your disciple and my junior can regrow their eyes. You've already seen my sincerity. If you're willing to accept us, we'll listen to you as long as it doesn't go against our bottom line. As for that disciple, I can let my junior teach him a mystical power as an apology." Li Daokong stared at Hanju as he spoke. Although Li Xianeo was angry, he didn't say anything. He only covered his eyes as blood flowed down his fingertips. Hanju remained silent. Li Daokong was really ruthless. This made Hanju speechless. After all, he had indeed invited him before. Hanju said, "After entering my hidden sect, other than my instructions, you are not allowed to leave without permission. Usually, I don't need you to do anything. I can still provide you with the Dao lecture and Dao field. You should be able to sense the spirit chi and Khanate chi of the 100-peak Immortal River, so are you willing?" Li Xianeo couldn't help but ask, "My senior is a pseudo-sage. Can you preach the Dao to a pseudo-sage?" Fzio Lo New Hapters at NOV, E, Elbin. Calm, of course. Then, what identity will we have? Let's see how you perform first. We'll arrange it in the future. Hanju wanted to prove the hidden sect's foundation. It was definitely not unreasonable for the two of them to be disciples now. Hanju called for Dian Wei, Shi Dudao's replica. He was stronger than Li Daokong. Li Daokong said, "All right, we also want to avoid being targeted by the sages." Hanju said, "Yes, go down. Someone will bring you outside." Li Daokong nodded and left with Li Xianeo. After walking out of the Daoist temple, Li Daokong was stunned upon seeing Dian Wei. "Why is it you?" Li Daokong frowned. Li Xianeo was puzzled. Who was this? Although he couldn't see, he still had his divine sense. His eyes were not important. Dian Wei said indifferently, "I'm Dian Wei, a guard of the 100-peak Immortal River. Please follow me. I'll bring you around first." "Guard?" Li Daokong was shocked. When would Shi Dudao come to the hidden sect to be a guard? Li Daokong was shocked. Although Li Xianeo didn't know Shi Dudao, he clearly felt that Dian Wei was very strong. He might even be stronger than his senior brother. Dian Wei brought them around and deliberately stopped at the Fusong tree. The disciples were all very curious about Li Daokong and his junior brother. Long Hao clicked his tongue in wonder. Even the twins of the human school are here. The hidden sect is becoming stronger. The chaotic heavenly dog nearly peed its pants when it saw Li Xianeo. However, it noticed that his eyes were bleeding and his eyelids had clearly sunken. It immediately thought of the truth and worshipped Hanju. "Master must have avenged me." Li Xianeo also noticed the chaotic heavenly dog and was enlightened. He said bitterly, "If you have such a powerful master, why didn't you say so back then?" The chaotic heavenly dog fell silent. It didn't know that its master was so powerful. Li Daokong said, "I apologize on my junior's behalf. I'll let him teach you a mystical power later. I hope that the grudge will be settled." The chaotic heavenly dog was extremely nervous from his stare. It hurriedly nodded in agreement. The black-held chicken was furious. "You're so useless. Can you be more firm?" The chaotic heavenly dog nodded like a chicken pecking at rice. Li Daokong did not say much. He also had his own pride. It was their fault, so he could admit it, but he wouldn't lower his head so easily. That day, the two of them established a Taoist temple in the forest. It wasn't far from the hundreds of thousands of other unnamed disciples. Hanju would pay attention to this pair of fellow disciples at first, afraid that they would act recklessly. As time passed and the two of them did not cause trouble, he was relieved. In a hall outside the 33rd heaven, Li Muyi's expression darkened. Several figures gathered in the hall, including Jiang Dugu. "What?" Li Daokong and Li Xianeo betrayed. Us. Ridiculous. We have to capture them. When has a traitor appeared in our human school? Where are they? Li Daokong is too arrogant. He didn't respect us seniors before. The human school's mighty figures cursed angrily. Jiang Degu did not say a word. His expression darkened, but a hint of joy flashed across his eyes. He was still worrying about how to deal with Li Daokong when he betrayed the sect. Li Muyi said. The two of them went to the hidden sect. Who's going? A man in a Taoist robe immediately stood up and said, Senior, let me go. I've been in seclusion for 70 million years. It's time for me to exercise. Seeing him stand out, the others tacitly agreed and did not fight. Denlong, don't start fighting directly when you get there. Ask first, Li Muyi instructed. Denlong nodded, cupped his hands, and bowed. Then, he turned around and left. It had been 130 years since Li Daokong and Li Xian'eo came to seek refuge. On this day, Hanju walked out of the Taoist temple. Everyone, prepared to listen to the lecture. With that said, the entire 100-peak immortal river boiled over. The disciples rushed to the location of the lecture. The Khanate life forms also began to prepare to listen. Li Daokong and Li Xian'eo followed the disciples to the land of preaching. They were very curious about what Hanju would say. After everyone sat down, Hanju sat on the peak of the mountain and started to preach. He was talking about the great Tao of extreme origin. He planned to bring Li Daokong and Li Xian'eo into his great Tao as well. As the lecture began, Li Daokong did not feel amazed at first. Li Xian'eo even felt disdain. After all, they had heard the sages preach more than once. However, as time passed, the two of them were quickly shocked. Hanju was actually preaching the great Tao. He was even more unfathomable and profound than their master, Li Muyi. Most importantly, they could understand it and quickly entered a state of Tao comprehension. He's a sage. A storm brewed in their hearts, especially Li Xian'eo. His eyes that had just grown revealed disbelief. Li Xian'eo has a favorable impression of you. Current favorability, 4 stars. Hanju saw this notification and didn't care. He continued to preach. Compared to Li Xian'eo, he cared more about Li Daokong. He might become a prominent figure of the hidden sect in the future. Although Tao Sovereign, Zhao Xianyuan, Jiang Yi, Zhou Fan, and Li Yao's potential were unparalleled, compared to Li Daokong, they lacked an arrogant domineering aura. An invincible aura. Li Daokong's favorability towards Hanju increased to 5.5 stars and Li Xian'eo to 5 stars. The two of them really betrayed the human school and had nowhere to go. After Hanju displayed his strength, they were naturally happy. Li Xian'eo's disdain towards Hanju mainly came from seniority and cultivation. After this lecture, they all determined that Hanju was not a junior and was definitely a sage. No wonder Hanju had always avoided the calamity. Sages didn't need to fight for great providence from the calamity at all. Also, they felt that Hanju was stronger than Li Muyi. After hearing his lecture, they gained more insight than from Li Muyi's lecture. Li Daokong had a feeling. Hanju's great Tao was stronger than Li Muyi's. After the lecture, Hanju returned to the Taoist temple alone. 8 years later, Li Daokong and Li Xian'eo came to visit him. Hanju let them in. Their favorability towards him was already very high. It was just nice to make them submit. Li Daokong was the first to ask, "You're a sage?" Hanju shook his head. Li Xian'eo asked, "What Tao were you preaching about earlier?" "Great Tao of extreme origin." Li Daokong and Li Xian'eo looked at each other and saw the confusion in each other's eyes. They had never heard of the great Tao of extreme origin. Hanju said, "This is the great Tao I created. Don't tell anyone." The disciples were shocked. Creating a great Tao? No wonder he shook his head. This was not something a sage could do. Could he be the Tao ancestor? Li Daokong and Li Xian'eo were shocked. They didn't think Hanju was lying. The great Tao of extreme origin was indeed stronger than any great Tao they had heard of. Li Xian'ao's favorability towards you has increased. Current favorability, 6 stars. Hanju raised his eyebrows. This Li Xian'ao. Is it so easy to conquer such a cold and annoying fellow? Or did he worship experts? Hanju looked at Li Daokong and felt that he had guessed correctly. Li Xian'ao said, "We definitely won't tell anyone. After all, we're already from the hidden sect. Sect Master, if Li Muyi comes personally, will you hand us over?" This term of Sect Master made Hanju feel comfortable. He liked to see others' attitudes towards him change 180 degrees. Li Daokong glanced at Li Xian'ao and did not say anything. He knew his junior brother's nature best. As long as you cultivate in peace and don't cause trouble outside or within the sect, I will protect you, Hanju replied calmly. He wasn't afraid of Li Muyi. As long as he was in the Dao field, he was not afraid of the heavenly Dao sages. Previously, the various sages had plotted against him. He had long treated them as imaginary enemies. Li Xian'ao immediately promised that the two of them would not cause trouble. After chatting for a while, the two of them left the Daoist temple. Back at his residence, Li Daokong said angrily, "You submitted so quickly. It seems that I didn't dig out your eyes in vain." Li Xian'ao snorted. "Senior, what are you pretending for? Since you've become his disciple, you should know your status. Besides, the sect master doesn't dislike us and gives us a lecture openly. Isn't such magnanimity worth following?" Li Daokong was silent. He turned around and returned to his Daoist temple. Li Xian'ao did not return to cultivate. Instead, he walked towards the Fusong tree. 200 years passed. Li Xian'ao had completely fused into the hidden sect. He taught the chaotic heavenly dog the mystical power to resolve the grudge and often sparred with Dao Sovereign, Zhou Fan, and the others. Li Xian'ao and Dao Sovereign were both at the early stage of the Zenith Heaven Golden Immortal Realm. It was difficult for the two of them to fight, but most of the time, Li Xian'ao had the upper hand. After all, he had lived for a long time and was very experienced. Compared to Li Xian'ao's activity, Li Daokong cultivated in seclusion and rarely walked around. The two of them had different goals. In the entire hidden sect, only Hanju could catch his eye. On this day, a preaching sound came from the human cities near the 100-peak Immortal River. After so many years, the human population had been increasing. Many human cities had been established in a radius of 30 million kilometers. However, there were not many experts among the humans, much less preaching. This lecture was spread very widely, and all the hidden sect disciples in the 100-peak Immortal River could hear it. Li Xian'ao suddenly flew into the sky with a solemn expression. Dao Sovereign rushed over and asked, "What? You know that person?" Because they often sparred, the two quickly established a friendship. Denlong is a pseudo-sage of the human school. He can be considered our uncle master. He was once the second disciple of the human school. Li Xian'ao's expression was ugly. He knew very well how powerful Denlong was. His arrival this time was not a coincidence. Dao Sovereign consoled, "Don't be afraid. As long as you don't go out, he can't do anything to you." Li Xian'ao nodded and took a deep breath. It seems that Li Muyi is really angry. Humph, in order to capture us, the human school sent such an expert. In the previous calamity, we sought their help. Not only did they not provide assistance, they even sent Jiang Dugu to cause trouble for us. The more Li Xian'ao spoke, the angrier he became. In the end, he gritted his teeth. Dao Sovereign fell silent. Back then, he had also been in the heavenly court. He had been puzzled, but he did not expect Li Daokong and Li Xian'ao to have had such a hard time. Speaking of which, the heavenly court was abandoned. Only Li Daokong and Li Xian'ao persisted until the calamity ended. This matter quickly spread throughout the hidden sect. All the disciples knew that the human school was looking for trouble. However, since Hanju didn't move, they weren't too worried. Han Ju had already detected Denlong's existence. He was a perfected pseudo-sage. Fortunately, he could kill him instantly. Therefore, Han Ju continued cultivating and didn't care about Denlong. 50 years later, Denlong finally couldn't sit still. He came outside the 100-peak Immortal River and shouted, "Sect Master of the Hidden Sect, let our human school's first and second disciples out." Han Ju ignored him. After a while, Denlong frowned. The 100-peak Immortal River was silent. No one bothered with him. He continued, "This is the sage's intention. If the hidden sect wants to avoid the world, it's best not to interfere in the matters of other sects." Han Ju still ignored him. Li Xian'eo stood in Li Daogong's Taoist temple with a nervous expression. He asked, "Does Sect Master plan to pretend to be dead?" Li Daogong said calmly, "Continue watching." The 100-peak Immortal River fell silent again. Visit Novel Bin, CM for updates. This time, Denlong was angry. Too much. This Sect Master of the Hidden Sect was really not giving him face. Just as he was about to attack, Han Ju's voice floated out. "Who are the eldest and second disciples of the human school?" Denlong suppressed his anger and said, "Li Daokong, Li Xian'eo. They aren't here. There are no such people among my disciples." "Senior might be mistaken. You're telling me this? I'll know if there is after I check." "No, I can't let you in. If your goal is to kill me, won't it be stupid of me to let you in?" Hearing Han Ju's words, Denlong laughed angrily. "Great," he said disdainfully, "whether you agree or not, I'm going in regardless." He immediately rushed towards the 100-peak Immortal River. He wasn't surprised when he bumped into the array formation. It was obvious there was an array formation here since his divine sense couldn't spy inside. Denlong took out a white jade sword and slashed. Seeing this, Denlong frowned and began to quickly brandish his sword. Great dermic powers poured out from his body like a flood breaking through a dam, shaking the ground. The humans also heard the commotion. Cultivators flew out of the city and watched from afar. They recognized Denlong as the mighty figure who had preached the Tao to them. What is that immortal doing? Something seems to be stopping him. He wants to challenge the immortal land? What should we do? Ancestor Zhou Fan once said that we are not allowed to enter the immortal land. Could this mighty figure be Ancestor Zhou Fan's enemy? We have no choice. Just stay out of it. No matter how Denlong attacked or even affected the human cities, he couldn't break through the Dao field. The originally nervous hidden sect members were all amused. The Khanate life forms also began to tease him. Li Daokong sighed. "I didn't expect Sect Master to have such an array formation. I can't sense what it is at all." Li Xian'eo nodded and smiled teasingly. "Look at Denlong. He's flustered and exasperated. This is the first time I've seen him like this. It's really embarrassing. After saying so much, you can't barge in. Perhaps the other sages are watching." 10 minutes later, Denlong gave up. He floated in the air with an extremely dark expression. He was in a dilemma. He could neither advance nor retreat. Leaving just like that would not only embarrass him but also the human school. But it wouldn't work if he continued trying to barge in. Han Ju's voice floated out, "Senior, there's really no one from the human school in the hidden sect. Please understand and leave." He spoke very politely, wanting to give Denlong a way out. But it was useless to give him an out now. Denlong could imagine the sages all watching him from beyond the 33rd heaven. If he left today, he would really lose all his face. But what could he do now? Denlong glanced at the distant human city. The human race was so close to the 100-peak Immortal River. Could they be related? Denlong's eyes flickered. "If you want to threaten me with the human race, is the human school's ideals still kept?" Han Ju's voice sounded again. Only Denlong could hear this voice. His expression turned even uglier. "Stop before it's too late. Don't fall into eternal damnation." Han Ju's voice entered Denlong's ears again. He wasn't afraid of him. He just didn't want to fall out with the entire human school now. When Denlong heard this, he was completely moved. He turned around and left. Although he was very unhappy with Hanju, he was telling the truth. After Denlong left, peace returned to the world. Apart from Li Daokong and Li Xianao, the ones affected the most were the humans. After experiencing Denlong's lecture, the humans all thought that he was very strong, but they didn't expect that he couldn't even enter the Immortal Land. What kind of mighty figure was hidden in the Immortal Land? In the future, the 100-peak Immortal River would become a legend of the human race. Li Daokong and Li Xianao were completely relaxed. They were no longer worried about being hunted down by the human school and could cultivate in peace. 10 years later, Hanju received Qiu Shilai's dream. This fellow was spamming again. Hanju chose to accept it. He wanted to see what Qiu Shilai had to say. In the dream, the moment Hanju appeared, he heard Qiu Shilai ask, "You took in Li Daokong and Li Xianao?" Hanju was already prepared. "When I took them in, they were no longer part of the human school." Qiu Shilai said, "You offended Li Mui. It won't be easy for you later. Send these two to our Buddhist sect." Qiu Shilai had been coveting Li Daokong for a long time. Among the Dao sect disciples, Li Daokong was the most talented. Li Daokong didn't have a chaotic physique. His talent was mainly displayed in his comprehension ability. Not to mention the previous calamity, even if a few more were compared, Li Daokong's potential was unparalleled. Hanju said, "Then, I have to ask for their intention. Give them to the Buddhist sect directly." "I'm afraid not." Hanju shook his head. The atmosphere instantly fell silent. Hanju wasn't afraid of breaking up with him. Otherwise, if this continued, Qiu Shilai would definitely ask for even more absurd things. Up-to-date OVLS on O.V.L. Bin, CM Hanju, do you still remember my kindness? Qiu Shilai asked again, his tone becoming unprecedentedly cold. Hanju said, "I remember. I owe you a favor, and I will definitely repay you in the future. However, I only want to cultivate now and not participate in the battle. Li Daokong has done me a favor, so I have to accept him. Of course, if the Buddhist sect is in trouble in the future, I won't stand by and watch." He was bullshitting. Li Daokong had little karma with him. Qiu Shilai naturally understood this, but he didn't want to push Hanju away directly. After all, the other sages were watching. Even if Hanju offended the human school and Qiu Shilai, he could still seek refuge with Chan the school, the Jia school, and even other heavenly Dao sages. The current Hanju wasn't just a variable. The hidden sect had already displayed its potential. Qiu Shilai said, "Just remember what you said. I will help you persuade the human school. I just hope that there won't be a next time." "Thank you, sage." Hanju immediately replied. "Qiu Shilai has developed hatred towards you. Current hatred points, 1.5 stars." Hanju ignored him. To sages, being able to develop disgust was already considered an enemy. However, Qiu Shilai felt that Hanju was still useful and didn't want to break up for the time being. The dream ended. Hanju returned to the Taoist temple and continued cultivating. In any case, sages couldn't enter the immortal world or break through his Dao field. He didn't care at all. However, Qiu Shilai's attitude proved Li Daokong's talent. He could become a sage. Hanju's heart beat faster. Apart from him, Li Daokong was definitely the closest one to becoming a sage in the entire hidden sect. What Hanju wanted to do was to nurture other disciples while cultivating. This way, he could continue cultivating and have his disciples help him resolve any problems. After Denlong left, the human school no longer sent any mighty figures to find trouble. They seemed to have given up. The hidden sect competition began again. This time, Li Daokong and Li Xianao joined. As expected, Li Daokong took first place. Li Xianao and Dao Sovereign tied, taking second place. Zhao Shenyuan was third, Zhou Fan was fourth, and Li Yao was fifth. There weren't many changes in the rankings after that. However, this matter agitated the other disciples. Would other experts join the hidden sect in the future? At the same age, they were confident, but compared to those mighty figures who had lived for countless years, they were definitely far inferior. For a time, the hidden sect stirred up another wind of cultivation. Li Daokong wasn't proud. He challenged Han Ju again and was ruthlessly insta-killed. His Dao heart almost shattered. After fighting Han Ju, he even suspected that he was not a pseudo-sage. The difference in talent was too great. Just like that, 800 years passed. On this day, the sky was suddenly filled with purple light. It was endless and beautiful. Han Ju, who was cultivating, opened his eyes and looked up. His gaze passed through the Taoist temple to the sky. A strong sense of uneasiness arose in his heart. It had been a long time since he felt so uneasy. He had to use the derivation function to ask, "Why do I feel uneasy?" 3 billion years of lifespan will be deducted. Do you want to continue? This was already the value of a heavenly Tao sage. Han Ju frowned and chose to continue. A figure appeared in his mind, and lines of words appeared in front of him. 3 pure sacred ancestor, perfected pseudo-sage realm, immeasurable emperor, fused with the Dharma idol of a sage. Disciple of the Tao ancestor. The strongest in the immortal world. Because you accepted Li Daokong and Li Xian'eo, the other sages mocked and ridiculed Li Mui, who became furious and released the 3 pure sacred ancestor. He is prepared to preach the Tao to the immortal world and suppress the hidden sect and the various providence sects. The 3 pure sacred ancestor had white hair and looked sage-like. There was nothing special about his appearance. He was fused with a sage's Dharma idol. Could it be that Laozi, the heavenly sect master, and the heavenly lord of primordial beginning had created him together? If that was the case, he was indeed very strong. The strongest in the immortal world had already become a title of providence. Han Ju frowned and secretly asked, "Can I defeat the 3 pure sacred ancestor? 3 billion years of lifespan will be deducted. Do you want to continue?" "Continue. You can't kill the 3 pure sacred ancestor in the heavenly Tao. You can kill him outside the heavenly Tao." Han Ju raised his eyebrows. So fierce? The 3 pure sacred ancestor treated the entire immortal world as his Tao field. He was invincible. However, Han Ju wasn't afraid. The 3 pure sacred ancestor wasn't a sage and couldn't break through his Tao field. Moreover, from the outcome of the previous derivation, the appearance of the 3 pure sacred ancestor wasn't targeted at him, but at the entire force of the immortal world. It has been less than 20,000 years since the calamity ended. I hope that you won't cause trouble and focus on farming. Han Ju thought silently. Under normal circumstances, billions of years would have to pass before the next immeasurable calamity. He was afraid that the sages were interfering. However, even if a sage took action, the prerequisite for triggering the calamity was that there were enough living beings in the immortal world. Without enough pawns, how could they play chess? The heavenly Tao couldn't sense a burden, so it naturally did not release endless negative karma. Han Ju stood up and walked out of the Taoist temple. He was disturbed by the 3 pure sacred ancestor, so he went out to take a walk. The disciples had already walked out of their residences and were discussing the heavenly phenomenon. Han Ju came to the Fusong tree, and the disciples immediately surrounded him. "Master, what's with this phenomenon?" The black hell chicken was the first to ask. Han Ju smiled. "Perhaps a mighty figure has appeared. Perhaps the human school wants to deal with us. If you go out, you will definitely die." The black hell chicken hurriedly nodded. "I'm not going out. Whoever goes out is a fool." Tu Linger came over and asked, "Master, when are you asking me to go to your Taoist temple?" What was she saying? Han Ju knew what she meant and said calmly, "Let's wait until you have a breakthrough." He flashed to the Fusong tree and asked, "How's the situation recently?" The Fusong tree replied, "I formed 2 more spacetime vortexes. but without your permission, I didn't activate them. Hanju smiled. Not bad. You've learned to be obedient. Let me take a look. With that, two spacetime vortexes appeared in front of him. Hanju scanned with his divine sense and quickly saw the entire situation of the two worlds. Compared to the Kiliacosm world, these two worlds were much weaker. The strongest was only at the zenith heaven realm. They seemed to have formed a heavenly Tao of their own. Hanju frowned. The karma between the heavenly Tao of the two worlds and the heavenly Tao of the immortal world was very weak. As a pseudo-sage, Hanju could deduce it even without the derivation function. Hanju was very curious. Other than the immortal world and the deity realm of the ruins of End, how many heavenly Tao worlds were hidden? Could it be related to the number of sages? Hanju felt that the strongest should be the deity realm of the ruins of End. However, the deity realm of the ruins of End and the immortal world were separated by the dark forbidden zone. They didn't interfere with each other. Regarding the deity realm of the ruins of End, Hanju's intention was to never step into it unless he could dominate it. After watching for a while, Hanju lost interest. He asked the Fusang tree to close the spatial vortex. Just as he was about to ask about its cultivation situation, the black hell chicken scream sounded beside him. Oh my god! The sky is splitting! The black hell chicken's voice was very sharp. Hanju looked up and saw a huge black crack in the purple sky that stretched to the horizon. Hanju vaguely saw a pair of eyes spying on the immortal world. In front of these eyes, everything seemed tiny. It hid in the darkness with a cold gaze. Hanju used the simulation trial to detect the surrounding enemies and didn't detect them. This meant that the other party was extremely far from the 100-peak immortal river. 3 pure sacred ancestor? No! Hanju felt killing intent. The other party was filled with killing intent towards the immortal world. Soon, the crack in the sky shrank and the purple light disappeared. Hanju returned to the Taoist temple. The Tao field wouldn't be affected even if the sky collapsed. He wasn't worried at all. I seem to be a little arrogant now? Hanju thought silently. Ever since the Tao field upgraded, he was not as cautious as before. He would become a sage first. Otherwise, he would be an ant in the end. Even if he couldn't be killed, he would still be an ant. Inside a palace, Li Moyi, the South Extreme Heavenly Venerate, and Sect Master Tianju meditated around him. Read Lat St chapters at No. V. E. L. Bin Com. Only Sect Master Tianju snorted. What does Shurdu Dao mean? The South Extreme Heavenly Venerate said with an ugly expression, I don't know when he formed a grudge with the 3 pure sacred ancestor. Li Muyi said, although Shurdu Dao is strong, it's impossible for him to kill the 3 pure sacred ancestor in the immortal world. We don't have to worry. Sect Master Tianju looked at Li Muyi and snorted. Why did you let the 3 pure sacred ancestor out? The South Extreme Heavenly Venerate also looked at him with an unfriendly gaze. Li Mu said expressionlessly, the hidden sect is too strong. If we let them be, all the geniuses of the immortal world will be absorbed by them. The Tao sect needs a true mighty figure to preach the Tao. Sect Master Tianju and the South Extreme Heavenly Venerate still frowned, not believing his words. AR. Li Muyi said, Shurdu Dao is always wandering around the Sage Tao field. He once almost became the personal disciple of the Tao ancestor. If he and the 3 pure sacred ancestor fight, it will be a huge loss for the Tao sect no matter who wins. We're the disciples of the Tao sect, we have to stop it. Sect Master Tianju narrowed his eyes and said, the 3 pure sacred ancestor is the obstacle between our Tao sect and the Tao destruction mystical power. The Tao ancestor taught Qiushilai and Sage Fated Secrets the Tao destruction mystical power. He also created the 3 pure sacred ancestor for us, and he has the ability to slaughter all living beings. He hopes that we can coexist peacefully. However, Sage Fated Secrets has already gone mad. Don't you think it's strange that you released the 3 pure sacred ancestor? The South Extreme Heavenly Venerate's eyes flickered. It was unknown what he was thinking. Clearly, there was a conflict between the three sages, and they could not trust each other. Li Muyi said slowly, ever since the previous heavenly Dao sage retired, the three pure sacred ancestor has always belonged to me. I have the right to control him. As for your doubts, in my opinion, there's no dark forbidden lord at all. Sect Master Tianju stood up and said, in that case, feel free. He vanished. The South Extreme Heavenly Venerate also stood up. He said, by the way, although the three pure sacred ancestor is strong, can he withstand the Dao destruction mystical power? With that, he turned into a black shadow and dispersed like mist.